Kevin Sawyer is ready and connected, and I really appreciate the time. One of the busiest guys in show business is Kevin Sawyer, and I should have called up his hockey DB for the years that he's with the Spokane Chiefs, but they were great years in the 90s. Let's just jump right into it. How's the offseason already for you? A little earlier than you expected, eh?
Earlier for sure. Yeah, tucked away in the mountains here in BC. By the way, I always think it's a good thing to make your audience wait just a little bit longer. Just keep them waiting and wondering. Sorry about that. But yeah, always enjoy watching. But things didn't turn out that second round the way I think most people expected.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, you said the mountains in BC. I said when we were trying to get you connected that I've been drove by Christina Lake on the bus many, many times. I don't remember where it was. It's all a blur. Was it on the road to Prince George, or is it between Kamloops and Kelowna? Where's beautiful Christina Lake?
Yeah, so when you're on your way through Alberta and you come through Cranbrook, you go right through Christina Lake on your way to Kelowna. So there's no stop light in my town. There's 1,000 people here. It's a hidden little gem, a beautiful little place.
We had a guy on the Pats, by the way, from there. I think his name was Drew Keller, if I remember, Christina Lake. I don't know if you know Drew or not. I know it's been a day or two since you left there full time. But anyways, enough about the old home week. Kevin, I saw Paul Maurice say painful to go from sweeping the Oilers to being swept by Montreal. It must have gone by like way too fast, like in a blink, that swing.
You know what? The entire last kind of quarter of the regular season and then into the playoffs must seem like a blur to the coaches, players. It certainly does to us as broadcasters, because there was just so much volatility. The way that the team you expected to kind of finish the season, that didn't happen. And they went on that slide, losing 7 games straight. Injuries played a factor. And now everybody, and including people around the team in Winnipeg, were full of doubt, quite frankly, going into playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, you know what happened there. And it was an eventful kind of finish to the regular season and unpredictable in every way, really. When you look at the team, what you would expect through the regular season, what you would expect, the way that they finished, they didn't, and into the playoffs, it kept a lot of people guessing.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about, the big question, the obvious one is, did the Scheifele hit and subsequent suspension just spell curtains for the Jets? Because it looked that way.
It shouldn't. For a team that is going to contend and a legitimate contender for a Stanley Cup, it's going to hurt any team. You lose your top centerman, it's going to change everything. But it shouldn't be the deciding factor. But it was. And the reason is this for me. You look at the way the Jets are made up. It's no secret that their strength is with their forward group and their goaltender. All the other teams, and I got buddies that coach in the league, assistant coach, head coach, and you talk to them, and the game plan is always to get to the Jets defense. And it's their, and that's not a knock on them. That's a group that, to me, is a strong group that achieved a lot. But they are who they are. And I think that when you take away your top centerman, it's the Achilles heel of your team. Now it puts not just guys in your top line out of position, but it put all 4 lines with a new partner or a new pairing, and it changed everything. So when you rely so much on your forwards, not only defensively to help out, but to score as well, you take Mark Scheifele out of the fold, and man, that was a backbreaker. And on top of that, for me, it's not just that he was out, but the loss in game 1 was almost expected in some ways. You're not sure how that's going to go with that layoff. But when that penalty happened, it was the last memory. And you take that somber feeling knowing that he's not playing at least game 2 into game 2. They were never able to recover, as you know.
There are specific questions from the viewers that I'll get to in a second. But I just want to ask you this, how the Jets should take this into the offseason. The pain of the sweep at the hands of the Habs, or the fact that, hey, we swept the Oilers. Nobody saw that. We shut down Connor McDavid. Like, how much do they build on that versus the sting of the Montreal series?
Even back to my coaching days, always talk to your players, and some of the best coaches that coached me were always talking about you never really buy into the highs too high. You never really kind of get too low and dwell on your negatives. So for me, they're going to do what every good professional does, is that's kind of take a little bit from both. And the things that they did against Edmonton was fantastic. And to me, it showed them a peek into the window of how they have to play moving forward. And then when you look at Montreal, and first of all, you got to tip your hat to the Canadiens. Man, did they play a well-rounded game. Forwards lines 1 through 4, all their D. Of course, Carey Price was who Carey Price was. But when you look at that, I think it's a reminder of how you have to buy into a different way to play when you look at the way that the Jets have won games in the past, They used to be a rush team. They used to be a seam team. And you can't win in the playoffs that way. And I think they understood that. They made big changes this year through the regular season as to try to score goals differently, try to defend differently as a group of five. And when you do that, now you have team speed. The Canadiens were fast as a group of five, shift after shift. I thought the Jets were a little bit slower because of the fact that they weren't connected as a group of five, whether they had the puck or they didn't. So I think they'll take the things that worked with the Oilers for sure, and the things that they got exposed on a little bit in round two, and continue to build towards what their identity needs to be.
Yeah, well, Montreal might be a team of destiny. Hard to beat a team of destiny, right? You've been through playoff runs in your life. John in Winnipeg with a comment that speaks for a lot of people. He says, Kevin, not liking the local papers saying time is up on Chevy and Maurice. Any comments?
Yeah, you know what? So when you look back, and I'm going to use Patrik Laine in this question, and it's a fair question, but when Laine was in Winnipeg and struggling, a lot of people thought that Paul Maurice wasn't using him properly, that maybe Patrik Laine was being handcuffed a little bit from the opportunities that he wasn't being given playing regular minutes on the top line. But I can remind a lot of people in Winnipeg that when Patrik Laine was on that top line with Scheifele and Wheeler, that they weren't as good of a line. They weren't as good of a team. And what Paul Maurice did with Laine is he reformed him and realized, okay, we're not going to win a Stanley Cup with your game. And this isn't picking on Patrik Laine, but your game needs to become more well-rounded. You need to develop some more of that power forward in your game. And I loved the Patrik Laine's game towards the end of last regular season. And of course, game one, he had the 3 points against the Flames in the overtime winner. When you go away, the grass isn't always greener. The point I'm making is the coaching, the tutelage, the mentorship that Paul Maurice gave to Patrik Laine. Patrik Laine only now would appreciate how good of a coach he had. And that's not a slight on John Tortorella. It took a long time for Paul Maurice to figure out Patrik Laine. The same is going to be for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And for those reasons, nobody knows this group better. He's an excellent communicator. He's adapted with the game. He's got buy-in. And I've played for coaches where the late, great Brian Murray, I will use an example, wasn't a tactical genius. But we wanted to please him. We wanted to win for that guy because we knew he cared. I think Paul Maurice has both. He's a wizard when it comes to the game and adapting and knowing what you have to bring out in your group to be your best version of yourself. But also he's got speeches. He connects with guys and he has buy-in. Those guys believe in him. They won't be able to replace him in my opinion. The grass is not always greener. To me, the problem and the reason they're not winning Stanley Cups yet certainly isn't because of Paul Maurice. He's the reason that they are a contender.
Bingo. They are where they are because of Paul primarily. I couldn't agree more. A minute left, Soisy, and the draft is right around the corner. I'm starting to hear from some scouts. Whoop. I don't know where that's coming from. Sorry. What do you think the Jets need here? We'll be going after in the NHL draft.
Yeah, no secret. I think that they have tried to at the trade deadline. I don't think it was a big secret that they were looking to add some depth, top four D-man. That to me is the part of the identity that they have been wanting to replace since they lost Trouba and Sherratt and Myers and of course Byfuglien. You look at what this team has accomplished, having those type of guys leave the association. It's remarkable. Those are holes that no team really has to deal with all in 1 year. That's the goal. Is to I think they're going to draft the best player available, but whether through free agency, through trade and draft, I think that the area for sure that they need to shore up is the back end. Big, heavy, hard to play against guys that can defend and kill a play.
Kevin, tremendous analysis as always. You're one of the best in the National Hockey League, and I watch the Jets almost every night. So thanks. Appreciate you. Appreciate the time, and enjoy the summer.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate you having me on the show, guys. Have a great summer.
The great Kevin Sawyer of the Winnipeg Jets television network, Spokane Chiefs, great NHL alum.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.